Hey, everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Chris, and that guy is.
I I'm Chris. You are Josh. Nice curveball,
Ah,
sir.
gotcha. Hey, well,
I,
we've been
that was
going
a
so
check
long, I
swing.
forgot who I was.
That was a check swing. I was like, oh, I'm gonna.
I figured I'd throw him off with that one. I came up with it earlier today.
It
I've
almost
been
worked.
waiting for it.
It almost worked.
Chris, we've been gone for a couple weeks due to your
Yeah,
absence. You died, and you
I
went
died.
to purgatory.
I died and went to
Um,
Texas for a little
yep,
while.
died
hmm
with Texas, the fatherland.
hmm
How was your trip?
It was great. It was amazing. I hadn't seen my parents in quite some time. My sister and her family, a handful of friends. Thanksgiving is probably my favorite holiday, just because it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't have that extra layer of gifts and all that to it, so it's a little less stressful. Plus, the Cowboys play awfully, every single year. So, there's that good old family tradition too. But no, the trip was amazing, and really just my wife and I both needed a break, just away from the day to day, away from the house, and I feel refreshed because of it. So, ready to rock.
I took some time off from work.
Right,
I
right.
I mean I don't have to work on Thanksgiving or the day after either, so it's already a long weekend. Took a couple extra days and I drank too much. Bum, bum, bum.
I did my fair share of that too. So lots of wine and food. It was good times.
It was a lot of whatever the hell I wanted to drink. I got creative, I
Oh,
tried some
one night
cocktails.
was yeah, I was about to say one night was White Russians with me and my buddy.
Don't
But
like them.
they tasted good. It's
Don't like them.
I don't customarily do it, but they tasted great. They sure did.
Okay. What is the opposite of a white Russian? It's the
There's three variations: White Russian, Black Russian, and a Colorado Bulldog. Of which,
aren't the
obviously, the
black Russian and the Colorado
Black
Bulldog
Russian
the
is a
same thing?
splash of Coke with no cream. A White Russian is no splash of Coke, of course, with cream, thereby making it more white. And a Colorado Bulldog is both, hence by making kind of that tan Bailey's kind of color.
Ugh.
I like
Yeah,
them,
no
but
cream, no cream in my booze, please.
again, because of that issue, I know not to frequent it, but it's great for the occasional cocktail. Yeah, I was fine the next day. I think. I don't remember.
Can
Yeah,
we get a shot over at your wife where she's just going,
he was not fine, folks.
"I was fine, I was fine."
I was fine.
Anyways, we're back after a couple weeks hiatus. So I did some solo streams on Sunday mornings. They
Yep.
were not disastrous. Let's put it that way. Everything. I dotted my I's and crossed my T's before I started the stream this time. And Chris doesn't know this, but maybe he'll be doing this Sunday by himself because
Oh yeah.
this
Take a little
Saturday
time
night.
off.
Not to date this episode, but I mean it's a weekly show about fantasy football. It's going to get dated by the Monday night. But
There.
Saturday is the Big Ten championship. It's the Iowa Hawkeyes. Go Hawks!
Nice.
Against the Michigan Wolverines. Two teams
Sweet.
haven't faced each other in like 2 years, so it'll be
Iowa and
interesting.
Baylor made it. That's awesome. By some
The
with some help.
Baylor's not in the Big Ten.
You know what I meant.
No, I didn't actually.
Big 12. They made the Big 12 championship game.
I was not in the
Because
Big 12.
because Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma, and yeah, I think that was it.
It made
And
it
Baylor won the game.
a big giant kerfuffle. Yes.
Yeah. hmm
Let's keep going here, man. We've
Let's
already
get
kind
back to
of
pro. Let's get back to
yeah. So
a
it's
game
week
about a
13.
game.
There are four teams on bye: the Carolina Panthers, the Cleveland Browns, the Green Bay Packers, and the Tennessee Titans. If there was a team that needed a bye, it is probably
Oh
the
my
Baker
goodness.
Mayfield and the Tennessee Titans.
You said
Um,
Baker Mayfield and the Tennessee Titans
I said Baker Mayfield from the Cleveland Browns is
and the
what I
Tennessee
meant,
Titans.
and
Gotcha.
the
Gotcha.
Tennessee Titans as a whole.
I was like, did I miss a trade? Did they pull some baseball magic and make a
No,
trade like with 2 games left in the season?
no.
It'll be fun.
Um, Chris, one thing. Christian McCaffrey is out for the year with another sprained ankle, and it's probably
Yeah,
because the Carolina Panthers don't have much of a chance to make the playoffs. Plus,
true.
I mean, going into week 13 now. He missed like at least 6 games with it last year. I'm done with Christian McCaffrey being a first round pick. Maybe I'll look at him in the third. If he's 100%, absolutely 100%, no nagging injury, not even a stub toe going into I wonder if that big season back in 2019 kind of broke his body a little bit. How do you think about that?
And he toted his more than his fair share in college too. You have to put those miles on his tires too.
Yep.
A catch is a touch, as a carry is a touch, but I tend to think you can, the smart players can get out of bounds or do this or do that and maybe mitigate some of that wear and tear, but he's just not the biggest guy. I would like to see him have a backfield mate. I don't want to muddy the fantasy waters, but I'd rather see him be a 75% kind of guy and maybe extend his real life career.
Instead of 24 points when every week when he's healthy, you'd be fine if it was 19 points.
Yeah.
With a little less usage.
Less usage, exactly. And I think he could be used in the slot, and he can do with these creative things. And heck, I think the offensive guy in Carolina
Here's the thing too is that I just thought of is that sometimes when you're as a receiver, it doesn't count as a touch when you're getting blasted and you don't catch the ball.
Yeah, like you touched on it, the fact that they're probably out of the race almost mathematically, and then their quarterback situation, and then on top of that, their offensive line is just bad. Really, really bad. I know they got some injuries. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but I know they're in a bad shape right now.
Steve and Shirley Sue.
There was some interesting names for offensive linemen in the NFL. All right.
I didn't name them.
All right. So we got week 13, sir. I had to double check.
Do you want to go first, Chris, or do you want me to?
I could go first.
Okay.
I've got the Vikings at Lions. The real story here is two absent top running backs. For the Vikings,
potentially two.
Yeah, I do touch on that. Dalvin Cook is trending out again as he recovers from a dislocated left shoulder.
That's the one I was talking about. He is definitely out.
Is it definite yet? Madison has been a plug-and-play guy up against this Lions defense. Both teams are bottom 5 in rushing yards allowed. Madison is a smash play and should already be in your on your roster and in your lineup this week. Madison already carded the Lions in week 5 for 113 rushing yards, caught all seven of his targets, and a receiving score. 5 stars for Alexander Madison with Dalvin Cook out. As for Cousins and the passing attack, I look elsewhere at quarterback, but Thielen and Jefferson are fine plays and should get some scoring looks here. Cousins was underwhelming in week 5 versus the Lions, and his floor seems a bit low lately. So I'm going to give him 2.5 stars as a QB2 in Superflex for Mr. Cousins. 3.75 stars for Jefferson and 3 for Thielen. Detroit's defense actually isn't all that bad, and if I expect maybe only 1 touchdown toss from Cousins, So, but still, I give Jefferson a nod there with 3.75 stars over Thielen with 3. On to the Lions. No other options there. Yeah, that was it for the Vikings. On to the Lions. Swift and Hawkinson is all we care about on the Lions. Swift is out, as I mentioned. Quote, unlikely to play, quote, a long shot. Swift had a great day versus the Vikings in week 5, catching all 6 of his targets, scoring on the ground, and accumulating 104 scrimmage yards. Coincidentally, Jamal Williams had 57 rushing yards that game. Not a ton, not very great in fantasy, but it's worth mentioning. I'd like Williams this week in a pinch at a tough time of year for teams trying to, jockey for the playoffs. But generally, the Lions like to use the tight ends and running backs, in their attack. So I'm going to give 3.25 stars for Williams, and that's probably definitely putting him in the flex conversation there for you. Mm-hmm. On to Hawkinson. Hawkinson has been disappointing, but he scored last week on Thanksgiving and could get a look here. So I'm just going to give him 3 stars to just that weekly top 12 tight end nod because you kind of have to put them in there. That's it for the Vikings at Lions, sir.
Chris, I gotta say, my work league, it's weird. Like there's bonuses for the quarterback, like so. Oh, and according to
because they definitely need bonuses.
According to Fantasy Pros, let me listen to this. According to Fantasy Pros, Kirk Cousins scored 16.5 points. And he's actually doing okay. He's kind of on every other week, kind of big week, bad, okay week, big week, okay week. So last week,
he's still only thrown like three picks all year or something crazy like that. Right.
Mm-hmm. In my work league, he scored like 27.
Wow.
because it's
Because of
like
like big minuses for picks or something.
no, it's something. There's some kind of bonus
Touchdowns.
that like if he hits like X amount of yards and completion percent. I don't remember what it is. It's weird. I was trying to look it up while you did it, and then you finished the matchup too quick, you jerk.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't include the Lions receivers or
Nope.
or Conklin for the Vikings. It's just we're at that time of year. We're down.
We know who you are, and we know what you are. That sort of thing.
Yep.
I mean, if you get like really super desperate, maybe Khalif Raymond or Tyler Conklin, but that's only for big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and I expect a big running attack from the Vikings. Therefore,
that's what I was going to say. Is that I wonder if that's what happened in Week 5 because I don't remember Week 5. I can barely remember like 3 or 4 days ago, but I wonder if what happened in Week 5 was that they just like they ran the ball, they got up big, and there was a couple of like turnovers. Maybe like a pick six in there, and there was just no reason to throw the ball. Like. And if that's like with the Jets, like they're doing really good against quarterbacks and wide receivers, mainly wide receivers, but it's a lot of it is due to they're just like teams get up on them so big, so quick that they don't need to throw the ball. Unlike the Colts, who get up to a 10-point lead at halftime last week, and then they decide to continue to throw the ball, and then they turn the ball over. And they literally have a guy in week 11 who had over 200 yards from scrimmage and 5 total touchdowns. Scored over 50 fantasy points. And they decided to keep throwing the ball with their, albeit not terrible, quarterback.
Did Wentz throw like 3 scores or something? Like he wasn't bad.
2.
Oh, okay.
This is all a segue into the Indianapolis Colts of the Houston Texans. Carson Wentz, I'm going to give him 3 3/4 stars. Strap yourself in, folks, because we are going back to the week 6, and it is going to be referenced a lot. So here we go. And by a lot, I mean some. Week 6 was the first meeting of these two teams for the first time this year. The Colts roster is pretty similar to what it was back then, so it's not like so we can do some pretty good one-to-one comparisons. The only difference here is that in week 6, it was in Indianapolis. This time it's in Houston. Blah, blah, blah. In that game, Carson threw for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's not bad, but not great either. The Texans' passing defense has been okay this year. I wonder if it's kind of one of those, like, their offense hasn't been that great, so they're not scoring points and, blah, blah, blah. Need to play catch up. That sort of thing. Anyways. Where was I at here? The Texans passing defense, they're only allowing 17.4 points per game. Not a whole heck of a lot to get excited about Wentz here, but if you have Aaron Rodgers, he's a pretty good streaming option this week. Or if you're really pissed off at Russell Wilson, more on that in a little bit. Carson Wentz deserves at least a look, and probably maybe more than a look, a real strong consideration for Wentz here. I got another guy later on that maybe deserves it more than Wentz, but let's just start with Wentz. That's where we're at. Jonathan Taylor, 5 stars, of course. He had a bit of an odd week last week. He did rack up 83 yards and a touchdown, but like 50 of those yards were in the fourth quarter, and also the touchdown was too. Don't ask me why. We already went over all this. I don't understand what the Colts were doing last week. But I love it. I like every week. I love Jonathan Taylor because I have a jersey of his. Not only are the Texans run defense giving up 21 points per game, which is the 6 word, but JT shredded this same defense in week 6 for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you know how he did it, Chris? He did it on 14 carries.
Yep, efficient.
Give me some JT this week. The only reason to fear JT is Frank Reich doing the same boneheaded thing again like last week, but I think they're going to right the ship. There was a lot of criticism over what happened last week.
So real quick snapshot of next year. I mean, Henry gets hurt. You're probably out on CMC in the first. I mean, is Taylor the 101 going away?
As long as this continues, and as long as Naeem Hines is more of a change of pace kind of pass catching option.
Mm-hmm. Well, the game scripts have helped Taylor. The game scripts have
They
helped him.
have.
But he can also catch, with the best of them.
He's been getting some receptions too. He got a couple of receptions in that week 6 game against the Texans as well. It wasn't for a lot of yards. It was just kind of there.
I just want to get in that Taylor 101 comment. That's
hard to say. It's hard to say that right now.
It's way too early, but
it's definitely top 5 for sure.
Shoulder shrug.
I was wrong.
Shoulder shrug emoji. I'm like, what else are you gonna do? He's the 101. It sure is like
I said, 5 stars for JT. I want to make him the thumbnail cover, but we've already used him, I think. So I want to find someone else. Michael Pittman. Here's some fun facts about Michael Pittman that I actually uncovered on my own. I didn't hear him anywhere. Pittman is on pace for over 1,100 yards in the inaugural 17-game season. But even in a 16-game season, he's on pace for over 1,000 yards. And he's probably going to get about 7, 8. He has like 6 touchdowns right now, but he's probably going to get somewhere close to 10 touchdowns this year too. 10, assuming he continues extrapolating that out for the rest of the season. Dude, Michael Pittman, man, like he deserves
he's for real
love.
I've heard a little bit of naysaying about his and there was a egregious
pass catching efficiency. That's for sure.
Well, his unwillingness.
Not very fast. Not the biggest guy in the world.
His unwillingness to use his size is what I've not liked.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's just kind of
that one pick in the end zone. I think it was last week. Was kind of like, dude, just
he's just like he's been getting kind of like just kind of bullied a little bit, you know.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
And for example, like last week, he had 10 targets, but he only caught 4 of them. Granted, some of those targets were not very catchable at all. And a target is within a ball thrown within 5 yards of you. Like a ball thrown within 5 yards of you is not a very good target. Like, I'd like to see Carson Wentz getting the ball a little bit more accurately, but on the other side of that coin, Pittman needs to catch some of those better thrown balls too. I'll give him a pedestrian 3.5 stars this week, and it's mainly just because I'm not super in love with him. I know, like, overall, by the end of the year, we're going to be like, wow, look at his stats. But at the same time, you look at it on a per-game basis, like, oh, okay, yeah. T.Y. Hilton, I'm going to... I guess it's 2 stars. He hasn't really done much to excite me this year, but in week 6, he did lead the team with 80 yards receiving. So there's that, I guess. You got to be pretty desperate to get to T.Y. Hilton. Let's move on to Turd Taylor here on the Houston Texans side of the ball. He didn't play in the Week 6 matchup, but that's been the Texans. He's been the Texans' best quarterback since coming back from injury. Albeit that's not saying much, nor is it a glowing review of Turd Taylor. I mean, I'm calling him Turd Taylor for a reason. But he gives me some hope for Brandon Cooks. Not a lot of hope, but some. The Colts are maybe giving up the 18.6 points per game to quarterbacks, but Turd is averaging less than 17. So 2 stars for him, more of a 2 quarterback league play, and that's looking pretty desperate there.
For sure. He was my one and only backup in our dynasty league where I have Mahomes on his bye week, and I think I had to use him.
I saw that last week.
That 12-team league where I told you I can't find a quarterback because everybody took a backup quarterback. Anyway, sorry.
I warned you pre-draft. I warned everyone. And you got to read the draft room. Anyways, Brandon Cooks. Cooks had 9 receptions for 89 yards in Week 6. Meeting of these 2 teams. That was with Davis Mills. Sorry, the new winner of the world's freakishly long neck.
Yes.
I'll give Cooks a respectable 4 stars here, and it's mainly out of respect for Cooks' talent, and that this Colts stupid quarterbacks are very beatable at times. So, 4 stars for Brandon Cooks. Chris, what's your next matchup?
My next matchup is the Buccaneers at Falcons. Let's go straight to Antonio Brown, suspended 3 games for violating COVID protocols. Moving on.
I'm dropping him in the one league that I have him in. I'm mad. I haven't done it yet, but I'm
if
pretty
you're in
mad.
the playoff hunt and you need roster space, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and make an argument against it. Fournette could run wild again versus a bad Falcons defense. 11th most rushing yards given up and the 7th most fantasy points given up to running backs. They were tore up by Dallas in Week 10, but actually limited the Patriots' backs, Harris and Stevenson, and James Robinson of the Jags last week. Still, Fournette is a flex-worthy 3.25 stars. Brady hasn't been a great fantasy option the last few weeks. Since coming back from bye, he's averaging 15.84 fantasy points. The Bucs should be playing from ahead and have a little trouble running the ball. I mean, if Brady got you this far and there's no better options out there, he's fine, I guess. 2.5
Wait, I'm sorry.
stars.
Who are the Bucks playing again?
Falcons.
And you think that he's going to struggle against the Falcons?
Who, Brady?
Yeah.
That's a fair point. I guess he's just been not that great for fantasy lately. So that's what I was taking into account.
You know why? Because he's a horrible human being and a bit of a...
I'm going to stick to my 2.5 stars.
Things you won't let me say. Let's put it that way.
I'm going to stick to my 2.5 stars and see Bucks get ahead on the Falcons and maybe...
Hey, man, no, you're not going to get any arguments from me about giving him 0 stars.
He did beat... What's the infamous score? I always get the infamous score wrong. 25-3, 27-3 Falcons ahead in the Super Bowl at halftime. It's like infamous. So he beat the Falcons themselves in that Super Bowl.
Falcons are idiots.
Yeah, anyway, I'm going to stick with 2.5 stars for Brady. Just put him right outside the top 12 and just kind of make you think about it a little bit there. Both wide receivers put up a stinker last week, but both wide receivers are still top 12 wide receivers on the season and play in a great offense. The Lions also give up the 5th most points to wide receivers. I'm going to give 4 stars to both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and ride that proverbial fence.
You just said Lions.
That's interesting. How did I do that? Huh.
I don't know. I was let's
hope the Falcons actually give up the Yeah, I did. I typed the Lions. Whoops. Okay. The Falcons also give up the 5th most points to wide receivers. 4 stars for both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I'm going to ride the proverbial fence there. Gronk is back, and so he is always in consideration when healthy. He was getting loose down the field last week versus Indy. He's the top 12 option, 3.5 stars for Gronk. On to the Falcons. Cordero Patterson continues to be a Swiss Army knife for the Falcons and many lucky fantasy managers. Last time Patterson played the Bucs, he scored through the air and on the ground. He's a top 12 running back, and he's in your lineup. 4 stars for Cordero Patterson.
It's amazing.
I'm so disappointed I didn't put a bid in or something. The only other option we care about is Kyle Pitts. He hasn't been very good since back-to-back breakout games in week 5 and 7. There was a bye week in between there, of course.
Was it a breakout? I mean,
a really good games.
A mini breakout.
Really good games back to back.
A flash in the pan.
Oh, I don't think it's flash in the pan, but to that point,
a sign of things to come in the future. Let's put it that way.
There you go. The targets have been fine, but the yardage isn't there, and he only has 1 touchdown on the season. That's the hazard of having an aging Matt Ryan as your quarterback, and no viable outside threats to speak of. Gage has filled in admirably, but I mean, really. So I'm going to give 3 stars for Pitts and just 2 stars for Gage, in case anybody is desperate out there. And that's all I want to talk about with the Falcons. That's the Buccaneers.
Let's move on to the New York Giants at the Miami Dolphins. Daniel Jones, he's questionable with a neck strain. Earlier this week, it sounded like he wasn't going to play. Now it sounds like he might. I don't know. So all I have to say to that is check out the Sunday morning stream where Chris and I, maybe just Chris this week, as a revenge
Sunday.
As a revenge, do it yourself. Sunday for Chris.
I like flying solo. Sometimes it's fun.
You left me hanging in the wind. I'll leave you hanging in the wind. So tune back in for that. If it ends up being, it's the original turkey neck, Mike Glennon. I don't want any part of this team if that's the case. But let's move on to Saquon Barkley. Barkley may have gotten 17 touches last week. The 4 receptions on 5 targets were nice, but he finished with only 7.3 points. I don't get it, man. Like, Saquon Barkley may be good, but the Giants are definitely not. If Daniel Jones misses this game, I guess give up Saquon 2.5 stars, 3 stars if he plays, but whatever. I mean, you're probably going to start Saquon, so I'm not saying like he is an absolute must bench because of the talent, but I mean, 7.3 points against the Eagles, who are giving up the 9th most points to running backs. That scares me. You know, like,
Sure.
you know what else scares me, man?
What?
Kenny Galladay.
Yeah.
And the fact that I have to start him in a league, I probably should. Let's put it that way. I guess I wasn't too high on Kenny G coming into the season. You can go back and watch the film on that to vet that. I'm not going to.
How about some of the
That's
hype?
my story, and I'm sticking to it. Kenny G doesn't have a touchdown yet, and he only has one game with more than 5 receptions. That same game is the only game, the game they have for the 5 receptions. It's the only game this season that he's had more than 64 receiving yards too, and he had 116 in that game. If you didn't know that. The only good thing about this game is that Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard might not play, and the Dolphins are somehow giving up the 3rd most points to wide receivers. I'm gonna give a why the hell not 3 stars to Kenny G, but I don't like it. Evan Ingram, he gets you could do worse, 2 stars. Evan Ingram may have
You could do worse. Shoulder shrug.
Evan Ingram may only have 2.45 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks, but that's tight ends for you, baby. They're not very good. Well, in this year. You could do worse, 2 stars there. I mean, you could start Anthony Ferkser, who's getting like gooses left and right. Tua. It's not the greatest matchup. The Giants are giving up the 9th fewest points, and Tua is only averaging 15 points per game. I mean, if it came down to it, Tua or Carson Wentz, I'm going Wentz. Probably a little bit because I'm a stupid Colts fan, but at the same time, like Wentz has played better. And Wentz also has a better chance of getting a 3 touchdown game, whereas Tua only has 1 game this year with more than 2 touchdowns. It was 4 in that week, but you know, whatever. I'm giving Tua 3 stars. I don't like it, but there's potential there, I guess. Myles Gaskin, he had a top 10 finish last week in the running back category, of course. I believe he was actually RB8. He scored 18.2 points against the Panthers, who are allowing the 4th fewest points per game. He had 17 points the week before versus the Jets. But they're allowing the most points per game to running back. So can Gaskin continue this? Like, honestly, it's entirely possible, man. The Giants are the 7th worst defense versus fantasy running backs, allowing 20.7 points per game. It's entirely possible that Gaskin could disappear again, but I'm wondering if Gaskin is maybe healthy for the first time this season, or maybe the Finns' offensive line is starting to gel, or they're getting healthy. I'm not really sure which. Maybe Gaskin has just kind of recaptured some of that lightning bottle we had last year. I don't know. 4 stars for Gaskin here. I'd go higher, but I'm really worried about that disappearing act.
I think it's aggressive as it is. It's fine.
I know. It's a 4.5-star matchup, a 5-star potential here for Gaskin, but I'm giving him that 1 star for the vanishing potential. So he gets bumped down to that 4 stars there. Jalen Waddle, I gotta ask you, are the Dolphins heating up a little bit, Chris? Past 2 weeks for Waddle, 16.6 and 24.2 fantasy points.
Yeah,
Giants in the middle of the road against wide receivers. I feel like I'm putting a little too much faith in the Dolphins here, but 4 stars. Waddle, 4 stars. Did you want to say something real quick?
I was just saying, I do think they're heating up. I think Gaskin is a lot of that was what he scored twice last week, wasn't it? So.
But I mean, he also had 17 points the week before too. So
fair.
It could just be a flash in the pan. It really could be. But
I think Waddle's the real deal. So
I think he is great too. And
I hope it's Tua that throws the ball to him in the coming years. But if it's not, I think Waddle's solid regardless.
Oh, and the thing with Waddle too is that like he was just like a burner when what was that, Alabama? Is that where he was from?
Yeah, they're using him in the short game and letting him run after the catch. Here in Miami.
Yeah, that's what the Dolphins are doing, and I think a lot of that is because their offensive line is offensive. It is terrible, at least in pass protection, and
it tends to suit Tua a little better. So I've been told.
But like what Jalen Waddle is doing this year is kind of what Will Fuller was doing last year. It's like not really like field stretching, like running straight real fast. It's like working the edges and everything like that. Jalen Waddle's doing it in his first year in the NFL, though.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it took Will Fuller like 5 years to do that. 4 years.
Just another guy kind of disproving that whole second or third wide receiver BS.
Yep. Let's move on to Mike Gesicki here real quick. That whole thing about heating up a little bit, we're going to kind of throw some ice on that. It's mainly just Gaskin and Waddle. Gesicki hasn't topped 7 points since week 7. And he's only topped 7 points 4 times this year. He's goosed you twice. For a guy that I think is extremely talented, I think the Dolphins should trade him. He's getting targets, about 6.5 per game. I don't know what's going on here. Start him for the name recognition if you want, but he's gonna get 2 stars. He's getting that Mike or that Evan Ingram. Like, you could do better. There's talent. It's just not producing points on the field for you. But dude, the tight ends are terrible. I don't want to get into it. I hate tight ends. I want to get rid of them or do something to fix the tight end position. But we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
Chris, what's your next matchup, man? I got a real quick one after yours. So let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Keep the pace. Cardinals at Bears. Kyler is back, baby. Well, he and Hopkins are, quote, expected to play. I have to believe if he's playing, he's 100% because how cautious they've been. And if he's 100% on this show, he gets 5 stars. End of story. No, I kid, but it should be a fine matchup, and he should be 100% chomping to get at the bit. If you want to be critical, I suppose you could knock off a half a star for Russ.
Chris, I believe you mean champing at the bit.
Champing at the bit. There you go. Oh, right. I forgot about that whole thing. I was
sorry, man.
I was dumbfounded to learn that. I really was. Anyway,
it's both. It's still whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Chase Edmonds is slated to return next week. It's a Monday night game versus the Rams. This is the coach, Cliff Kingsbury, on record saying he's not going to be back this week, but next he's looking to hopefully.
I don't want him to come back, actually.
I know. So we get one more week of James Conner and his accelerated production. One has to think he might have done enough in Edmonds' absence to warrant being the 1A in the backfield, but I think the Cardinals truly want a well-rested committee at running back for the stretch run in the playoffs.
I think they also want them for sorry to interrupt. I think they want them for certain situations too. Chase Edmonds is the speed guy, and James Conner is the hammer.
Goal line. Yep. Got a bit of a.
Conner's the hammer, and Edmonds is the scalpel.
Yeah. So I think they'll be back to and hey, in real life NFL, they work great together. So I think that's what you're probably going to see.
Yeah, man.
Back.
I'm down with it.
But I think my apologies. The Bears are kind of middle of the road versus run, but I expect Conner to get scoring opportunities with Kyler back versus an inferior team in the Bears. 4 stars for Conner, and of course, Chase isn't back yet. So the receiving options continue to be hard to figure out, and Nuke coming back only makes it more difficult. I'm going to bench everyone but Hopkins. He is a decent flex with upside, assuming he's 100% too. I'll give him 3 stars. I know that's kind of very cautious, but I just
what even when he was healthy, he wasn't exactly like blowing the world up.
Kyler's going to spread the ball around. Now there's a little bit more of a play here with Hurts, I believe. Hurts had a great game versus Seattle last week, scoring twice. Don't want to get caught chasing the rainbow, so to speak. But and in this offense, he should be considered a viable tight end streaming option. The Bears gave up a touchdown to Hawkinson last week and 8 catches to Andrews the week before, and a big 2 touchdown day to Pat Freiermuth 4 weeks ago before their bye. So I'm going to give 4 stars. I'm going to give 4 stars to Ertz here.
But who are the Cardinals playing again? I'm sorry.
Cardinals at Bears. So the Bears gave
tight ends against the Bears. Got it.
Yeah. Well, they were kind of.
I just made the rule up. All right. Don't debunk it.
No, lately it's been great. Yes. So 4 stars for Ertz there. On to the Bears. Fields has fractured ribs, and I wouldn't want to trust him or Mooney versus this Cardinals defense anyway. I suppose Mooney is a fine desperation flex if Fields plays, since Mooney has been hot lately. Just 2.5 stars for Mooney. Bench rating for Fields. David Montgomery disappointed in a great matchup versus Lions last week, but he should get a decent amount of work again, which isn't the easiest thing to find right now in fantasy. I'm going to give him 3.25 stars, David Montgomery. So I wanted to revisit
Okay.
our Cole Kmet bet Josh. My guy is on IR, so I'm pretty sure I get a get out of jail free card there.
How many games is he going to miss?
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's done for the year. Maybe
Hmm.
not.
All right.
We'll wait and see. There's no reason to make a decision now. Kmet did just receive 11 targets, but the Cardinals give up the least points
He's
to tight ends. So as a matchup-based tight end, I would look elsewhere. And Troutman did just have his best game of the season before he got hurt.
Yeah, it was like breakout game, breakout game, breakout
Like,
game.
11
Injured
points!
and gonna miss maybe the rest of the year.
I was so upset, especially for Dynasty, because I've been stashing his behind for quite some time. Stash. All right, that, sir, is your Cardinals at Bears. Nobody else worth
I
talking
was
about
just
on the
looking at
Bears?
the while you were talking, I was looking at James Conner's contract because I thought it was a 1 year deal, which it was with the Cardinals. Guess how much it was for, Chris?
$3.5 million.
You want one more guess? I'm not going to tell you higher or lower. Just one more guess.
$5 million.
Wrong direction. It was half of your original guess. 1.75 million for 1 year.
Injury history.
Uh-huh. It's a prove it deal, and
he was a part-time player anyway. But and hey, it suits him. It does suit him. This has been a nice run.
But also, if you're James Conner, you look at the Cardinals and Kyler Murray at least, and you're like, I could win a ring out of this.
Oh, for sure. And it's not like he was on a bad team before when Ben still had a little bit left in the tank, and Pittsburgh was obviously competes year in and year out, except for we'll see. Anyway, you get my point. Is he was with another good organization in a good role. He just was getting too much of the load there.
Okay, Chris, my next matchup is the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Jets. Not a lot to cover here, so let's be hasty with this trash heap of a football game. Like, honestly, why would you want to? Like, if you were not in Philadelphia or in New York, why would you want to watch this game?
Even Hurts has been kind of booty lately, man. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. It is
the reason being is that he has an ankle injury. He got hurt last week. He says he's going to play. My question is why? You have a bye week coming up in week 14, and Hurts played awful. He was awful last week with his ankle injury. Gardner Minshew is Hurts' backup, and he's really not that much better. He's kind of more of a lateral move, but a lateral move from a new age rushing quarterback that can kind of throw the ball to a more traditional quarterback, Gardner Minshew. But Gardner Minshew doesn't have a very strong arm, and he has a really slow release too. I'm going to give Hurts only 3 stars if he plays. He's not a great fantasy option if he can't run the ball. It's kind of a sad statement. I really hate saying that about quote unquote mobile quarterbacks, but it's true. It's what Jalen Hurts is. He's a mobile quarterback. He's what Michael Vick was when he played for the Falcons.
Yep.
Kind of
it. Hey, I'm not going to comment about his off-the-field stuff, but he turned it around on the field, should I say, in that 1 year with Philly.
That 1 year, yeah.
Great flash in the pan, that's fine, but through the air, he excelled. They've tailored the offense for it. It could happen with Hurts, but no, I'm on your side right now.
Not with this supporting cast.
No. Probably. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep rolling here. Miles Sanders, he's questionable with an ankle. He was limited in practice as of Wednesday. I'm sorry I didn't have time. I'm very busy at work. Sunday stream. Check us out. So we start at 10. We start at 10 a.m. Central Time. We don't know where you live, so you do the math. We actually do know where you live. The Jets are giving up a paltry, awful 28.5 points per game to running backs. Whether it's Sanders or Boston Scott, try your best to slide them into your lineup. I know, and that's Chris. That's why
you're saying check their health, check their status, but there's a play here.
Boston Scott is also dinged up too, so
and he's played well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, check their status, but Scott played well.
Yeah. Devonta Smith, I'm going to give him 2 stars here. Whether it's a hobbled Hurts or a noodle-armed Minshew, I don't really want to start Devonta Smith unless I absolutely have to. Maybe if you're in a must start an Eagles player kind of fantasy
format.
league. Yeah. Dallas Goedert.
More disappointing.
Goddard, you goosed me. You old so-and-so, you goosed me. The departure of Zach Ertz has not helped Dallas Goddard's value at all. He is just another lame tight end. Hey, Briggy Seals-Jones, I think, might actually have more tight end points than Dallas Goddard on the season. And he was the backup for Washington. Zach Ertz has done better going to Arizona. The Eagles, I think the Eagles traded the wrong tight end.
Yeah, that argument could be made.
They got rid of the more expensive one for the cheaper one.
I still think it's a result of the organization and the talent around him. Just like
I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know. If a tight end isn't Travis Kelce or even, I guess, Dawson Knox, do you really care anymore? I kind of don't.
Dawson Knox, my boy.
Shut up. Chris, one thing real quick. Give me a Jets player that I should give a flying rat's bass about.
If you're in a 14-team league and you got to have a running back at flex, take a gamble on Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman appeared to have the snap advantage last week, but it's Tevin Coleman. I know you probably just threw up in your mouth a little bit, but that's the one.
No, I was just trying not to fall asleep while you were talking about the Jets.
Maybe the receiver, Elijah Mitchell, but gosh, he's probably worse off now that Zach Wilson is back. I'm sorry, Elijah Moore. My apologies, yes. But I think he might even be worse off with Zach Wilson back. It's not pretty, man.
No, it's really not.
That's all.
I feel bad for Robert Saleh. I feel bad for any coach walking in that situation. The team was a dumpster fire already, and it's not really getting any better. I just hope they don't. I hope that they don't. The Jets front office doesn't look at the season and just well, it's time to start over again at that, and the coaching staff. And I'm like, at least give this coaching staff some time and the GM to try and improve the team because it was.
Hey man, look at Jacksonville. Look at the top 2 picks, man. Look at the top 2 quarterbacks taken. What are we doing here? Okay, I know we'll give him another year or two. We'll give him another year or two.
But Zach Wilson has been a.
Exactly. Oh yes, fine. Give the nod to Lawrence for now. But what I'm saying is, man, in today's NFL, these kids need to produce a little sooner. I'm not saying right away in year 1, but halfway through next year.
Lawrence's main problem is their offensive line. Same thing, but that's not exactly the problem in New York. It is, but
Wilson just looks so bad. Oof.
'Cause I'm free.
Next we have Jaguars at Rams. Pardon for the musical interlude there, folks. Let's go to take chase here with the Jaguars. James Robinson is really the only fantasy option worth discussing. He is dealing with heel and knee injuries and hasn't practiced this week. Stay tuned for the Sunday morning stream to see if he gets into practice on Friday. Tough to say if it's cause for concern or not. He tends to take veteran days off, and really he's all they've got, so they have to give him rest here and there. If he goes, he is a fine play versus the Rams defense that isn't what it was last year and can be run on. A.J. Dillon, DeAndre Swift, and Eli Mitchell have had decent success versus them in the last few weeks. I'm going to give 3.75 stars to Robinson. That's it for the Jags. On to the Rams. Stafford
wait. No, go ahead.
What? Stafford has been great for fantasy, but has thrown a pick 6 in 3 straight games and has the chance to tie Matt Schaub for the record with 4 games in a row with a pick 6.
Wow.
I laugh, but as I said, he's been fine for fantasy and is a top 12 quarterback this week versus the hapless Jags. 4.5 stars for Matthew Stafford. It looks like after the bye week, Odell Beckham is the number 2 for the Rams, but Van Jefferson has seen decent target volume also. Kupp is in for a big game this week, and Beckham could be too. 5 stars for Cooper Kupp, 3.5 for Odell Beckham Jr., and Van Jefferson is probably one of the better maybe dart throw flex options out there, so I'll give him a 2.5 stars.
I'm sorry, what did you give Odell Beckham?
3.5 stars.
Okay.
High-end flex. I expect some points.
I'm not sure if he's going to play, but okay.
Oh, is he hurt again?
Also, yeah, obviously you didn't watch that game last week. He was extremely hobbled.
Oh, okay. My apologies for glossing over that.
No, you're
But
fine. It's just
I mean, definitely bump up
he's
Van Jefferson.
and
If
honestly,
that's what that's
he would go out there and he'd run and he'd make a play last week, and but
Mm.
you could see after that play like he was just holding his back and he was like
Oh,
he has
wow.
some sort of like I'm guessing on some sort of muscle strain in his back just by the
Oh,
way he was holding.
that's unfortunate.
As someone who's dealt with back injuries, I'm like that's what it
I
was
would say
like
keep an eye on the second or third healthy, option in the Rams passing game, and
for sure.
and you could probably get a play there. Darrell Henderson remains a top option at running back. He's RB13 on the season after a rough stretch of a couple games. The Jags have given up 14 rushing touchdowns on the season. That's the fourth worst. He hasn't practiced this week, but Sean McVay said he should be all right. Wait and see if he can practice Friday. I'm going to give Darrell Henderson 4 stars in a plus matchup versus Jaguars, assuming he goes. And that's it for the Jags at Rams, sir.
Okie dokie. Let's go on to the Chargers at the Bengals. Justin Herbert. It has been a bit of a roller coaster ride for Herbie this year. He's definitely had his peaks and valleys. But his valleys haven't been like single digits. It's just been he is averaging 23 points per game overall. The Bengals D has been pretty good this year against opposing quarterbacks. They're allowing just 16.2 points per game. And about 1.2, so about 1.25 touchdowns per game. Herbie's had some good games against good teams and some bad games against bad teams and vice versa. It's really kind of hard to pinpoint this year where like exactly he lands on the scale. I think some of it has to do with the health of his offensive line, which has been in flux at times this year. So I'll just play it safe and give him 4.25 stars. For the upside here, Austin Eckler, Mr. Air Guitar himself. Chris, do you think Austin Eckler has a particular song in mind when he's air guitaring after he's scoring the touchdown? When he's like,
Pretty sure it's a callback to his first name. Austin City Limits, Austin, Texas, live music capital of the world. Yep, that's exactly where it comes from. I just made that whole thing up.
I know you
works.
Did.
It works.
So I gotta say, whenever I air guitar, assuming that there is no music playing while I'm air guitaring, I like to pretend that I'm playing that Dragon Force song. The one about the dragons and the really fast guitaring.
Dragon Force, nice.
Anyway,
mine would probably be a Metallica riff. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I know. Eckler is currently the RB2 on the season, and we're the idiots who bumped him down for some dumb reason or another. I really don't remember why, but Eckler has been great, and I like him to continue that this week. 4.5 stars for Austin Eckler. Keenan Allen, aka Steady Eddie, 3.5 stars for his steady Eddiness. He gets the targets, he gets some yards. He's just a nice warm blanket that you can feel safe with, his decent floor. You've tried other blankets out, but they're just not the same. Sure, some blankets are super soft. Others are weighted to calm you when you have some anxiety. But then you look at Steady Eddie's 12.9 points per game, and it's like a bowl of soup on a bowl of hot soup on a cold winter day. 3.5 stars for Steady Eddie, a.k.a. Keenan Allen. Screw the rest of the Chargers' weapons. I'm not into Mike Williams anymore. Joe Burrow, speaking of warm blankets and other than a couple of stinkers that bookend the Bengals bye week. Oh, and week 2 wasn't that great either. But, we'll just kind of sweep that one under the rug. Burrow has been a solid fantasy QB. One could almost call him the cool side of the pillow. Flip the pillow over in the middle of the night, and there you go.
Would you say a nice Joe cool?
A Joe nice cool side on your face. Oh, baby. Back to Burrow. He's got the Chargers this week. They've been pretty good against the quarterback as well, giving up only 218 yards per game and close to 1.5 touchdowns per game. So 4 stars for the freshly minted nickname, Joey Bagels. Joe Mixon, 5 stars. The Chargers have been one of the worst run defenses in the league, and Mixon has been a freaking stud this season.
Bengals are running the heck out of the ball.
Yeah, man. Joe Mixon has shown what he is capable of have been doing for years.
I think it's important to distinguish that he's been a really good real life quarterback, and he is, piloting this ship. And they've gone a little run heavy, and the defense has been decent. Like, they're playing winning football in real life. Like, yeah, but again, Burrow's fine in fantasy, near the bottom 12 or whatever. But Mixon, man, they are just giving him the opportunity to be kind of that.
As they should. As they should.
And it was
man.
it was Chase. I'm sorry, Jamar Chase early on. It was the passing game early on. It was a lot of volume, but now it's really kind of. I don't know. We'll see how they go.
Speaking of Jamar Chase, he's averaging just 8.6 points per game over his last 4 games. Mm-hmm. That is kind of due to Tiggins popping up here and there. I think it's a little bit of. I personally think it's a little bit of crashing back to earth for Jamar Chase. Chase was burning so bright so early in the season that there had to be a little progression. Don't get me wrong. I think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow connection could literally make Chase the next superstar wide receiver. But like next year, I could see myself drafting Jamar Chase in like maybe the second round and jumping for joy that I got him there. Because man, dude, when I wrote that the other day, I was like, I think I could get down with that. We'll see where Chase ends up at the end of the year.
Ends up, yeah, for sure.
But maybe even like maybe you get him in like the third, and he could easily be a first round talent next season. Redraft, obviously. The Chargers' run D may be bad, but they're giving up the second fewest points of wide receivers, so I'm giving 3 stars to Jamar Chase. Probably not the week Jamar returns to his early season form. So 3 stars for him. I'm giving 3 stars to Tiggins too. That is T. Higgins for people just tuning in. Pretty much the same thing for Tiggins here. Not a great matchup, but I'll still roll with the 3 stars for him. Chris, I believe you have another matchup to do. I believe it's a purple on yellow matchup.
It is.
I don't know where I was going with that, but okay.
AFC North, right? The North's division. Ravens at Steelers. Lamar threw 4 picks last week after coming back from an illness and missing the prior week. Pittsburgh is a good defense, but have given up big games versus running quarterbacks a couple of times in the last few weeks. 90 yards to Justin Herbert, 45 yards to Justin Fields. Hey, maybe it's a Justin thing. I don't know. I think the 4 picks could be chalked up to rust and versus the good Browns defense, where he had those 4 picks. Lamar is in your lineup and should run well this week. I'm going to give him 4 stars, make him a top 12 option there. Devontae Freeman has established himself as the Ravens' go-to back, and the Steelers' defense has been exposed lately, giving up huge days to Eckler, Mixon, DeAndre Swift, and Godwin Igwebuike. Yep, going with it.
What?
Put that in there on purpose just to make myself.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
The player's name is Godwin Igwebuike. Igwebuike. I'm going to go Bouquet, not Buque. That would be a DeAndre Swift backfield mate that week, I guess. You know what? I wonder if he ran something back on special teams. Either way, the other names are very well worth mentioning there in terms of running backs having good days against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Freeman is inefficient and old, but it could do worse. 2.5 stars. Hollywood Brown gets a flex-worthy 3 stars here since his target numbers have been great, and he stands a chance to score. But, he is kind of boomer busty, as we like to say.
Busty.
Andrews is in your lineup as a top tight end most weeks. This week is no different. He's the tight end 2 on the season. The Steelers are good versus tight ends, but Andrews is an elite option. I'm going to go and give him 4 stars in a division rivalry game. On to the Steelers. With Najee Harris, he's coming off his worst game of the year last week. A lot of that has to do with the aforementioned Cincinnati Bengals having a very sound, run-heavy approach and really controlling the clock. Najee only gets 8 carries. Again, a season low, 2.9 per carry. Didn't score on the ground. So, Najee is going to be in your lineup regardless. Don't let last week scare you. The Ravens aren't what they used to be in years past in terms of defense, and you just can't find a guy that's going to get work like Najee Harris. I'm going to give him 4 stars versus the Ravens. Really, the only other couple of options we want to talk about, well, I guess a few options. We're not talking about Big Ben. He is washed, but Deontay Johnson.
You mean old Ben?
Old Ben. But Deontay Johnson is still getting just insane target volume. A lot of it is short passing game because Big Ben's arm is shot.
Noodle.
But most of us play in a PPR, so he is definitely a start-worthy receiver here. Probably a top 24 option. 3.5 stars for Deontay Johnson. Let me check on Mr. Claypool's status here.
He was questionable as of
Questionable. I see
today.
a questionable tag for sure. Was back to full practice on Thursday. Okay, so he's in.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not too keen on the other passing options in the Steelers repertoire. Claypool's a great downfield option when they can find time to get the ball to him. I mean, whatever. 2.5 stars if you need a flex, I guess. Pratt Freiermuth, I'd like to talk about a little bit more here. He is the tight end 11 on the season, which is pretty impressive considering his slow start. His target numbers look great. 4 targets last week. Still managed 10 fantasy points because he scored. He's got,
What?
6 touchdowns on the season. What? Pratt Freiermuth?
Keep going.
Yeah. So again, Freiermuth in the tight end, given the tight end landscape, there's not a whole lot of great options out there. Again, like Josh said, if you don't have the greatest tight end of all time, Dawson Knox or Kelsey. Sorry. Waller, I'm not sure of his status.
Still Tony Gonzalez, but okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'm going to give Freiermuth a startable 2.75 stars. Look at him at your kind of bottom 12 tight ends there. And that, sir, I believe, is the Ravens at Steelers.
Okay. I believe we are on to the Washington football team at the Las Vegas Raiders. I skipped over Taylor hindquarters here. I wasn't really into him all that much. The Raiders defense is kind of pretty good against quarterbacks.
Not in the hindquarters?
If there was a week where it was like Patrick Mahomes and like Brady and Aaron Rodgers and like a bunch of like really fantasy relevant quarterbacks gone, I guess it could be more into Taylor hindquarters, but it's really just Aaron Rodgers this week. So we're gonna skip over him. I've already given him too much word. Antonio Gibson, he's questionable right now because he missed a limited practice because of his shin fracture, whatever. He played last week, and he had a smash week last week.
Yeah, he did. Oh, boy, he helped me a lot.
Unfortunately, he didn't help me one bit because I forgot to take CeeDee Lamb out of my lineup because I was busy making Thanksgiving dinner. But it was nice to see some life left in Gibson.
For sure.
Chris, I got to be honest here. I always want to call him Gibbons, like the bird or the primate. Gibbons are primates. They're primates. Whatever. Puffin. That's the what I was thinking with the bird. Anyways,
Puffin?
Gibson.
Like
back to Gibson.
Rock?
What?
Okay. Puffin Rock? It's a cartoon.
Puffin Rock.
I don't know. Continue. Rabbit hole. Just focus. Trust me. We don't want to go down it.
It's a children's cartoon. Good game for Gibson last week. It was against the Seahawks, who are one of the 4 teams giving up more points than the Raiders to running back. So I'm going to give Gibson 3.75 stars. I wanted to go higher, but given his I'm hoping that he's getting healthier. That's Antonio Gibson, but man, his propensity to let me down this season has been without veil. Terry McLaurin, 4 stars. Casey Hayward be maybe the Raiders' best outside corner, but he's getting up there in football years and isn't nearly as fast as the McLaurin. Good luck, Casey Hayward. I think Terry's going to run right by you. Logan Thomas, I'm going to give you 3.5 stars. If you waited all this time for Logan Thomas to return, he disappointed you last week.
Oh.
This week, he's got the Raiders, and they're giving up the 3rd most points to tight end. So I'm going to give some upside to Logan Thomas, and a lot of that was because I'm just like tight end 2-star. I like the Logan Thomas this week. I'm gonna look on
the guy to put your stamp on. That's good.
Yeah. Grass is greener on the Logan Thomas side of the blade of grass. Derek Carr, 4.25 stars. No joke here.
Woo.
No joke.
All right. Yeah,
no joke.
Dallas,
my quarterback streamer of the week. I don't know what his roster percentages or anything like that, but the Washington football team is giving up the most points and to quarterbacks. And when Derek Carr has gone up against soft defenses this season, he's performed well. It sounds like he'll be without Darren Waller, but I'm not too scared. I
Yeah.
really liked what I saw from Carr pushing the ball downfield with Deshaun Jackson. D-Jax only had 4 targets, as I'm going to get to here in a second. But I just like what I saw, and
I think we all most
I
of
have
America
Derek
watched
Carrier,
that
but I
game,
meant
yeah.
to write down Foster
Oh, I guess that was
Moreau
Thursday night.
here. Derek Carrier is another tight end for the Raiders.
Correct,
Has performed well when Waller hasn't been on the field, and
Moreau,
sometimes
yeah.
even with Waller on the field. So I'm not really all that scared. What I am scared of is Josh Jacobs. 3.25 stars for him here. The Washington football team may be weak against an air attack, but they got the ground, sea, and time attack covered. The greatest matchup for Josh Jacobs, this is not, to quote Yoda. There. Deshaun Jackson, fun fact number 1. Yesterday was Deshaun Jackson's 35th birthday. Happy birthday, buddy. You're almost as old as I am, but not nearly as old as Chris. Fact number 2. Deshaun Jackson has somehow had 3 bye weeks this year. Back to the show. I wish
Well,
I
they're
wish
obviously
Deshaun
picking
Jackson
their
had more than
spots
4
with
targets
him.
last week,
Yeah.
but that could easily happen this week. 4 stars for Deshaun Jackson. I like.
Woo.
Call me optimistic, man. I like it this week, man. If Derek Carr is gonna be the quarterback, I think he's gonna be. He's gonna need Foster Moreau
An outlet.
and Deshaun Jackson to be good. You know who's not gonna be good? Bryan Edwards. They're like 2nd round pick from like 2 years ago. He has been just a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
He has ghosted the Raiders.
Yep.
For reals. And I'm sorry, on to Foster Moreau, like I already alluded to.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't have any stats for anything, what he does when Darren Waller's out, which has been pretty rare. But Foster Moreau has produced without Darren Waller in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I picked him up I have Darren Waller in our Friends with Benefits League. Mm-hmm. And I picked up Foster Moreau to plug in his just in case Waller wasn't able to go, and it sounds like he's not going to. Tune in Sunday morning to find out to the stream on Yahoo on this channel. But still, like
right here,
I like it's not quite. I have it written down as a palette swap, but it's not quite a palette swap like Foster Moreau, Darren Waller. But Derek Carr loves his tight ends, and next man up.
Yeah, next man up. There you go. Was that your matchup, sir?
That was the matchup.
All right, let's stay with a
last one for you, right?
AFC West, right? AFC
Sunday
West.
Night Football. Sunday night.
Broncos at Chiefs. I feel like this might be a better real life NFL game than fantasy game, but let me continue. Let's cut to the chase with the Broncos here. The running backs and Noah Fant are really the only viable options on the Broncos. And actually, I typed that before I did the research on Fant, and it actually isn't that viable. But let me continue with the running backs here.
It's all name. It's like that's what it is.
With
it's all
bad,
these tight ends.
Man.
It's just it's a sexy name, and
yeah, let's just cut to that and get that out of the way. Fant has been hot garbage along with the rest of the passing game. The Chiefs give up the 7th most fantasy points to tight ends, but the low volume and Teddy spreading the ball around is killing Noah Fant. 1.5 stars, and I don't usually give below 2 stars, folks. It's just like a courtesy, what the heck ever. It's really,
you know what Noah Fant
really
is?
Bad.
Noah Fant is Nicolas Cage right now.
I also don't think it's all Fant's fault. I think that a lot of it has to do with the head coach and the game plan and the makeup of the team, really. Let me get the running backs out of the way here. This is your weekly frustrating reminder that the Broncos' backfield is split right down the middle, and Melvin Gordon isn't going away despite Javonte making big plays left and right.
Javonte actually did me okay last week. I had to start him in a
he had
league
a pretty big day through the air. I think he took a screen pass for a huge gain, run after the catch type of thing.
Gordon, I did that last week too.
You did not. That's a lie.
Damn it.
Gordon has done just enough to stay relevant. The Chiefs are decent versus the run, giving up the 12th fewest rushing yards and the 14th fewest points to running backs, fantasy points that is. I'll give the nod to Javonte with 3.25 stars, and Gordon is an okay flex with 2.5 stars. Again, it's kind of a down the middle thing, folks, and really that's the only options you can look at with this team right now. Sutton has not been good, and as we just got out of the way, Noah Fant is 1.5 stars. So I'm just not going to toy with the receivers here. On to the Chiefs. Mahomes. The Broncos give up the 8th fewest passing yards and the 5th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. Denver is an elite defense, and Mahomes tossed just one score in each meeting last season versus the Broncos. Having said that, Dak, Jalen Hurts, and Herbert had fine days in the last 3 weeks versus them, and this is Mahomes fresh off of a bye week. I'm going to give him 3.25 stars, make him a borderline top 12 guy.
Sorry.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Broncos give up the 8th fewest rushing yards too. Speak of the devil. But Eckler had a great day through the air, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire should get a decent amount of work, making him a top 36 option. 3 stars. A little bit of trepidation there, but still getting him in your lineups. Hill and Kelsey on your lineups, even versus the Broncos defense. You don't need me to tell you that, but here's a little bit on Hill. He is a Bronco killer. He has scored 4 touchdowns in 4 of the last meetings versus the Broncos.
Wait. He kills horses?
What? Yes, but in a
That's
way,
not
yes.
cool, man.
So I'm going to give him 5 stars and let him continue his murderous ways. 4.5 stars for Kelsey. Denver hasn't allowed a top 12 tight end game all season, but Kelsey has burned them before, including their last meeting last year. Over 100 yards receiving there. So I'm going to give 4.5 stars to Kelsey. And that is the end of the Broncos at Chiefs, sir. Bring it home.
Oh, snap. All right, here we go. San Francisco 49ers at Seattle Seahawks. This is where we get canceled, Chris, and not because of something heinous, but because of just sheer idiocy. Just got to warn everyone. I wrote this last night when I was very tired, and I'm somehow not nearly as tired, even though I got less sleep. Jimmy G, 3 3/4 stars. He's been playing well lately, and this is probably due to all of his weapons being healthy. You know, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. You know, unfortunately, Debo is not healthy this week. He is expected to miss a week or two with a groin strain. Oh, my groin. Elijah Mitchell, he is not really much of a pass catcher, which is odd because he's been actually just racking up the yards on the ground. And, like when you look at his fantasy points, you're like, surely this guy is like, you know, because Chris, you play in any sort of non-PPR league? Didn't play it in a non-PPR league at all?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. So
I don't like.
So it's weird when you look at a guy that scores like 16 to 20 points in a some sort of PPR, whether it's full or half. You'd expect some catches to be in it. No, not really. It's just all on the ground. Chris, Elijah Mitchell has been what?
They're not a big throwing to the running back team, if memory serves.
They have, but yeah, not really. Chris, have you realized that Elijah Mitchell was a diamond in the rough for the NFL draft this year?
You nailed it.
Who found him? It was me.
Yeah, he freaking nailed it. He was on the board in the second round. I could have had him.
He balled out last week, man. He really did. He gets the Seahawks this week. Whoop, whoop. 4.5 stars for Elijah Mitchell.
He's been a lifesaver for me.
On to Kittle. He's going to get 4 stars as well. He hasn't had a blow-up game since returning from injury, but this could be the week. Seattle has been very middle of the road against tight ends, but everyone's been middle of the road against tight ends for the most part because tight ends have been freaking terrible. And so a 4-star rating is kind of an arbitrary thing. But, I mean, if I'm going to put all my eggs into a tight end's basket, why not have it be one of the best assists? You know, like, I don't know. Once again, I'm reading off the script that I wrote last night when I was very tired. Deebo Samuel, like I said, he is expected to miss a week or two. Hopefully it's just a week because I kind of need him in Dynasty. Brandon Ayuk, 4 stars. Due to Deebo's injury, I gave Ayuk a nice bump. While Ayuk hasn't put up elite level numbers the past few weeks, they have been very solid. So I'm thinking he got himself out of shenanigans, doghouse, and could see some significant action this week. On the Seattle side of the ball here, it's not a lot to talk about. It really isn't. Russell Wilson has been awful. And I'm recommending people to bench him. Bench Russell Wilson. Find a better option if you can. He's only getting the 2 stars that I'm about to say just because out of sheer respect for Russ here. I really like the quarterback. I do, but I
do
don't
too.
know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not out on him
Um,
or anything, career or this, maybe doing something later in the year or maybe next year. But yeah, he's been bad, man. It's
so kind of like I talked about with Jonathan Taylor earlier in the Colts matchup last week against the Bucks. Russ did the same thing. He something very similar. He managed to rack up 19 and a half fantasy points last week. Great, but he had like 10 of those points in the fourth quarter, or he had about 10 points entering
in
into the fourth
desperation,
quarter.
garbage time.
Yeah, like meaningless garbage time too.
Mm.
And that was also against the Washington football team, who I already mentioned is
Was
the worst giving
worst.
up the most points to opposing quarterback. And
That's
Russell
awful.
Wilson only managed 19 and a half points. He should have gotten at least like Russell Old would have gotten at least 25. This is embarrassing. I don't know what's going on here. San Francisco may be
This
middle of the
question just
road.
popped in my head. Go ahead. Sorry.
They may be middle of the road against opposing quarterbacks, but I'm
Mhm.
not banking it at all. I think that Russ's finger is still affecting his throwing ability. I
Oh
don't think the
no.
coaching staff is doing anything to help out Russ either. I think it's mainly because of the injury. But get this, just get this. Bear with me real quick here. Through the first 4 weeks, Russell Wilson was averaging 22.54 points per game. Week 5, he gets injured. Since coming back from injury, 11.9 points per game. He's looked bad doing it too. Just hard pass on Russ, man. Like Geno Smith wasn't really any wasn't really any worse. Why would not just and they're not the Seahawks really aren't in contention for a playoff spot, I don't think at this
With
point.
an awful defense, yeah.
Yeah, and an awful offensive line too. Like not awful, but like according to like what was it like unstoppable.com I saw yesterday that they're like the Seahawks were like 22nd, so like not the worst, but in the bottom half as far as offensive line.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of rolling Russ out there again? Why, like, other than for him to earn like
and
his
that's
full
probably going to be the
paycheck?
case
What's the
here in a
point of
couple
it?
weeks, considering the lengthy season. First 17 game season ever. They might pull the plug. They might go and find an excuse to shelf him, or just say the finger.
Well, it's too late for that now. He's like
finger
this is
surgery
going to be his
again, or
fourth
I don't
week.
know.
It's just I don't know, man.
But I also think it's kind of the play calling, the franchise handcuffing him. Like I thought this question while you were talking. I don't mean to interrupt, but what if you plugged Russell Wilson in on the Cardinals? Like,
what's that?
What if you plug Russell Wilson in on the Cardinals? Would it completely change your mind? Like, is he more like a Kyler or a Kyler plus or whatnot? Like he used to be, when they let him cook, he was great.
I think that they are of similar
ilk.
Yes, thank you. I was going to say character, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's very good. They're
but
similar play style.
You're saying he might be hurt, and I'm saying that I think also the franchise is just not managing him well.
Here's my hot take too. I think it's time to move on from Pete Carroll. I'm done.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm saying. I keep saying quote franchise. I'm kind of saying front office and Carroll, if not all Carroll. I don't know, but war not as welcome. He already made. Remember, we kind of glossed over it, but as a football community, but Russell Wilson did say, hey, he wanted to leave earlier this year.
And so I work with a guy who is he has some like a learning disability, but he's a really big Seahawks fan. So we actually have while he might have a learning disability, he's a really, really big Seahawks fan. He knows a lot about the team. And so we've had some really good conversations about him. And I got to a point where I was talking with him. I was like, Drew, I think I'm ready for Pete Carroll to be gone. I'm like, look at what the Seahawks have done. Like, they want to commit to the run game, but they don't want to. But yet they don't want to bolster their offensive line.
They don't invest in the offensive line or the running back position,
which was one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why Russell Wilson wanted to leave, because they weren't addressing their offensive line. Like, I mean, it's great, and they weren't getting him a lot of other like key players. They weren't bolstering their defense as well. I mean, Chris Carson's a pretty good back, but
the defense has been a
he's also not like the greatest back in the world either.
That's what I'm saying. They haven't invested in ways to win the game. on one hand, they don't want to put the ball in Wilson's hand and let him throw a bunch. On the other hand, they don't really invest in running back, and they definitely don't invest in offensive line. And usually, if you have a decent run game, you also want a good defense. Well, they used to have a good defense. It's been years since they have a good defense. They've been bottom of the league for, I don't know, it feels like past 4 or 5 years. Okay, about 3. There you go. Yeah,
probably at least 3. At least 3.
Yeah,
we'll just say at least 3. And it's just I know some of those players got a little bit older and they kind of aged out and they it got too expensive and everything. And I was also talking with the same guy at work and
you rebuild.
And I was just like, I'm like, this is what happens when teams give quarterbacks enormous contracts is they have a hard time making that balance now. I'm like, look at Russell Wilson, 1 Super Bowl in his rookie contract. And it had 2 Super Bowl appearances, one of them. Rookie contract.
Flip side of that argument is you got to have one of those quarterbacks, and if you got to have one, you got to pay him, and that's the going rate.
Or if you can constantly find that next rookie quarterback to win you a Super Bowl every 5 years, and
that's the Browns,
just turn them out.
The Jets, how easy that is.
I know, man. I'm just saying. Anyways, I mean, like, I don't really like. Back to it. I really don't have much else to say about like. You're probably not benching DK Metcalf. It's really not a bad matchup on paper. It really isn't.
Right.
Tyler Lockett, please don't. I'm having to start him in Dynasty, but it's also Dynasty. You're kind of a slave to your team.
Completely different. Yeah.
But and also a bye week for Devontae Adams and a potential injury for Odell Beckham. You know, like I get it. I'm having to start him. But DK Metcalf, you're probably starting him just because of upside, but I really I'm giving him 2 stars like I am to Russell Wilson just because and DK is one of those guys, like, he's not a Tyler Lockett where he's a small dude that's really fast. He's a big dude that's really fast. Like they should be hammering him, like just peppering him with outside targets, over the middle targets, whatever. It's not happening.
I mean, who's the running back? Alex Collins right now. I mean, it's just like use the
who is terrible. Who's terrible.
Exactly. Agreed. Yeah.
This entire team from top to bottom right now is a dumpster fire. And if Pete Carroll makes it into next season as the Seahawks head coach, I'd be super surprised.
Agreed.
The only reason that he would be is because the players love him. That's it.
Yeah, but that wears, you start racking up losses, that wears out the welcome quickly. Yep. What we got left? Is that it?
Chris, I think what we have left is everyone, please check out the Sunday stream that we do. It starts at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time or Central Daylight Time, whatever.
Right here on YouTube.
Central Time. You know what time zone you live in, so do the math for us. But we do some last-minute injury updates. We do some asking for a friend segments where you can also chime in, the viewer, can chime in the chat and ask your own kind of lineup questions and whatever, which is weird because I didn't really have a lot last week, and mainly because I shot myself in the foot in one league, but I was kind of just locked into what I had to work with, so...
Yeah, I get like that week, quite a few weeks actually, but yeah, I still try to think of interesting dichotomies, decisions that I'm left with, like maybe somebody else sees it differently than I do, and it's not such a slam dunk. Like you mentioned, Singletary over maybe starting Zeke tonight. Anyway,
hold it.
Yeah, well, we'll see what Singletary does. I mean, it's not like Zeke scored 0. Singletary could put up a 2 or 3 pointer.
Not like he scored 10.
No, he definitely didn't. Anyway,
I don't know. I haven't looked in a while.
I've got all my Cowboys.
If you're checking us out if you're checking us out in YouTube format, you can always check us out in pretty much wherever podcasts are available. I'm warming up to Spotify as my podcast platform. Yep, not just because it's projected to be like more the most highest used platform for podcasts, but at the same time, I like with Spotify that you can play music and you can kind of you can create a music playlist, but then you can also just kind of sprinkle in some podcasts in there too. So you're like, I've had enough music, and then you can just do that for like a long drive or something.
I would tend to have separate playlists for either, but I do like the one app to rule them all, so to speak, that you're getting at.
And apparently, I have used Spotify more than 91% of America.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Per their end of the year stats, I'm like, Oh my, really? Wow.
He does love himself some podcasts. I'm a little bit more of a YouTuber
But I don't use it for podcasts though. I listen
guy.
to like maybe 4 hours of podcasts,
So
maybe
music,
the entire
music and
year
podcast.
on Spotify.
You
The
like
rest of
that
it is
stuff?
just music. We are amazing, and you can suck it.
Amazing fantasy football, folks. Till next week.
Later.
Adios.